Today I'm going to be taking you through a lower body foam roller routine. You can do this as a follow along with me. We're going to be finishing up with some lower body stretches, and all you need is a foam roller and one of these mats. Let's get into the routine. So we're going to start off by rolling the calf and the soleus muscle. So you're going to put one leg on top of the roller and you can put the other foot next to it. If you just lift your hips and then just start rolling back and forth, focusing on the lower part of your leg. We're going to do roughly 45 seconds to a minute per roll. If it's too easy, you can put one foot on top of the other like that. Try turning your foot in slightly. Don't shy away from those more tender spots. So we're still focusing on that lower portion right now. We're going to move up in a few seconds higher up. Okay, so let's shift that forwards a little. So I'm going to be working around that bigger calf muscle. So your calf muscle is mainly exposed higher up on the lower part of your leg. You can get tight if you do a lot of running. Again, try turning your foot out. Try turning it in a bit, find those more tender spots. All right, let's take that over to the other side. So again, we're going to start focusing on the lower portion, mainly on that soleus. The soleus is responsible for pushing your foot down like that when your knee is flexed. It can restrict you from squatting low if you're struggling with squat depth and it's tight. Let's move on to that calf. So depending whether you want full pressure, you can put 2 on, or if you just want to take some pressure off your upper body as well, I'll often use this foot just so it's a bit easier and less stressful on my wrists and shoulders. I like to turn my foot in. Usually I can feel it on the inside down there. That's a tight spot for me, so I'm just going to work around there. Okay, let's stick on this same leg. We're going to push it up a little bit higher now onto the hamstring. Everyone's got a thicker layer of fat tissue on the back of their legs than they have on the lower part, so you might need that double pressure with all your weight. Don't worry if you can't feel this as much as you can some of the other rolls. That's pretty normal. It's still pushing the blood flow. It's still pushing the blood through and increasing the blood flow, even if you can't feel it as painful working into those connective tissues as you can on some of the other rolls. Let's take that to the other side. So your hamstring's just between your knee and your hip on the back of your leg. Sometimes you might find if you turn your foot in and work high up on the inside, you can feel a little bit more there. Feel free to put all your weight on. If you've got a harder roller, if you've got a selection, this is probably the time to use the firmer one. I personally like these more smooth, not too bumpy, but firm foam rollers. A little bit of a tongue twister there. I don't like the ones that are super spiky. I think they're a bit intense for some of these rolls. Okay, we're moving on to my favorite now. We're gonna sit on top of it. I want you to cross your right leg over your left, lean down to the right side, and you're gonna roll your upper outer back pocket on that right side. You might even wanna hold onto your shoelaces like that. We're rolling your piriformis and glutes. Don't shy away from any sore spot. Somewhere crossing across the top of your glute, you should feel a slightly more tender spot. As we're externally rotating this hip, you'll feel that hip flexor, that piriformis exposed. Let's take that to the other side. So you're going to put the left one over the right leg. We're going to go upper back pocket on this left side. Trying to find that tender spot, probably 5 inches across, cutting across the top of your upper outer glute. If you want to hold on to that to stop the foot slipping off, that's absolutely fine as well. If you want to just hit the glute, you can straighten the leg out a little bit, work still in the same area. Okay, we're going to take it onto the shin muscle, so we're rolling down the outside of the shin. So if you come onto your front, and we're going to actually lean to the side like this, we're going to roll down the outside of your shin. We don't need to roll on the shin bone, we're trying to stay on the slightly meatier part of your leg. This one's really great for avoiding shin splints. So if you're a runner and you're doing this for some recovery, this is a great one for you. So just trying to stay off the shin bone, but rolling on the front side down the shin. Let's take it over to the other side. Notice I've got support with this foot, this hand and this elbow, just making life a little bit easier. This is called your tibialis anterior muscle, but you could just call it your shin muscle. It's a bit simpler, isn't it? Quite commonly tight, especially if you find sitting back onto your heels is a challenge on the stretch on the front of your foot. This is a really great roll for helping release that. All right, that's enough of that. So if you're into yoga and you like sitting like this, then releasing the front can be really useful. Let's go onto the quads next. So you're gonna come into a plank position. You're gonna put your quads on top of the roller. I'll just tuck myself in. Nice and simple. You're just gonna roll back and forth. Try not to let your lower back dip into an arch too much, so draw that belly button in. You could try turning the feet out away from one another. Bring in your legs a little wider on the roller, depending on the length. If you've got it in you, let's cross the left foot over the right foot, and we're going to lean more pressure down to that right side. You can either just lean slightly more pressure, or you could even bring that left leg completely off. And we're focusing purely on the right leg now, but it depends how firm your roller is and how tight the connective tissue that surrounds that quad muscle is. Whoa, pretty intense. Oh, you can work up near the hip a little bit. Let's get onto that hip flexor slightly, maybe even plant that support foot down while we're hitting that hip flexor. So we're staying underneath that point on your hip bone here. Roll in nice and high up. All right, let's take it over to the other side. So we've got either all your weight or most of your weight on that left side now. Just roll in. You can stay around the knee if you want for a bit. And then you can work a little bit further up to the middle portion, which is sore for me today. So let's stick around here, try and free up some of that connective tissue. And let's take it a little higher. So you can take some of the weight off with that right leg. Let's work up towards the hip now. So we're up near the hip flexor. So keep rolling on that side. I've just taken the right foot off to give a little extra support. Great job. We're going to stick around a similar area now. We're going to hit the adductors, running down the inside of the legs. So we're going to put the roller this way around now on the mat. I'm going to lie on my front, bring one knee up, place it on the outside, and I'm rolling out to the side like this. So you can still have, I'm doing my left side right now, but you can still partially have your weight supported on your right side. Rolling down the inside, maybe focus up near the knee for a little bit. Take as much weight as you need off with this supporting side, but still feeling a little bit of tension down that adductor. Let's go a little higher up near the hip. All right, taking it over to the other side. So you provide as much support as you need with the opposite side and put as much pressure as you can cope with. It doesn't have to be excruciating, but being slightly uncomfortable is pretty normal with foam rolling. Those connective tissue layers can crisscross in odd directions, and we're trying to smooth them out to make the basket of connective tissue more pliable, basically easier to stretch. And that should take some pressure off the end points, your tendons and ligaments, as the muscle stretches easier. Okay, that's it. That's the foam roll portion of this follow along done. We're just going to stretch some of those muscles out now. So we're going to start off with those adductors that we were just rolling then. So I'm going to put my knees nice and wide on the mat. I like to tuck my toes under. Then I'm going to push my hips back. And I'm just using the tension of the floor to push away and sit my glutes down between my heels. You can reach out like this if you want, but I actually find that using the floor tension and actively pushing back, like I'm pushing back into a squat position, will give me a better stretch and help my squat mobility more. If you're finding this too easy, just drift those knees a little wider. We want the toes relatively close together. If you're finding that toe curl uncomfortable, feel free to just point your toes flatten down. You'll see this is similar to the frog position in yoga. We're just gonna stay for another 10 seconds. Opening those hips out. Great job. Okay, so I'm gonna actually double or triple my mat up to give a little bit of knee support now. Let's go onto your right knee and put your left foot out front. And we're just going to scoot the hips back slightly. So you're shooting the hips back, leaning forwards over the quad. Notice that although I could lean forward like this, for now I'm trying to keep some length to the spine. I'm hinging at the hip. And another thing you might notice is that I haven't locked out this leg. If you lock out the knee, a lot of the time you can just feel the sciatic nerve burning on the back of the leg. And actually a little unlock, you can feel the hamstrings higher up here. I find that a more beneficial stretch than completely locking the knee out. So you're just scooting those hips back, leaning the chest forwards but without collapsing the upper back into a rounded position. Whilst we're in this position, I'm going to take my roller, I'm going to put it behind me. I'm going to scoot the tip of my foot onto the top of the roller. Might take a little bit of practice. I'm going to come up into this quad stretch, so a hip flexor and quad. I'm going to tilt my pelvis under, squeezing my glute on the back leg. I can feel a stretch up the back leg. You might even want to hold on to it like this with one or two hands. Try and keep those ribs tucked in, glutes tucked under. It might be easier also to have your back foot up against a wall or on a bench. And if you're struggling with all those options, you could just have it on the floor and do a pelvic tilt. That's absolutely fine as well. All right, let's switch knees. So we're gonna bring the other one out to the front now. I'm gonna reach that heel forwards, unlock the knee slightly, scoot the hips back, fold myself forwards, but keeping some length to the spine. I can feel that nicely up the back. If I lock the knee, I just feel a burning sensation behind the knee. If I just unlock it a little bit, but then scoot those hips back, almost like I'm doing Romanian deadlift, I can feel it nicely a bit higher up on the hamstring. A lot of your hamstring muscles will cross this joint up here on your hip joint. So actually taking a little bit of the stretch away from behind the knee and adding it up here, I find really useful for hamstring stretches. So sticking with our feet this way around, you can either put your back foot on a bench, a wall, or we could even use a roller if you place it carefully, like that. I'm going to focus on a pelvic tilt, so I'm tucking my pelvis under, engaging the glute on this back leg, drawing my belly button in. We're not looking to like lunge forwards like this and arch your back. I see that a lot. We're actually looking to pelvic tilt under, squeeze the glute, feel the stretch on this hip flexor, and you'll feel it on the quad muscle that causes hip flexion as well. So just maintaining that pelvic tilt. I know it's hard and you get lazy and fall out, but if you fall out of that tilt, usually you'll lose the stretch as well. So let's try and keep that engaged. Let's hold this for a couple more seconds. All right, onto your back now on the mat. This is our final stretch. I want you to hook your left foot over your right knee, and then you can reach through your leg to your hamstring, and then relax your head and your shoulders back. We're trying to get a stretch on this glute and piriformis here. If you're finding that too easy, you can reach that bit further around your shin, and then relax back, maybe even holding on to that shoe there. If you can't get your head on the floor though, I recommend just holding the hamstring and then relaxing the shoulders back. Let's hold for a few more seconds, slowing your breathing down. Okay, so I'm going to hook my right foot over my left knee. I'm going to take my left hand, I'm actually going to hold on to the shoelace, going to reach through either to the hamstring or to the shin, and then relax my head and shoulders back down towards the mat. If you've enjoyed this routine, but you feel like you could do it a little bit more, then I'll link a nice dynamic mobility flow, so where there's a little bit more movement between stretches sequenced together. I'll link that at the end of the video, so maybe you could do that. And I'll link my mobility playlist as well if you want to see some of my other follow-alongs. Sometimes people struggle to find that on the channel, so I'll link it at the end. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for joining me. Hopefully you found it useful. Let me know in the comments below, how did you find it and where in the world are you following along from? I really do like to hear that. Hit the thumbs up button, make sure you're subscribed, try one of these videos, and see you soon.